This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic. It is EDH Commander Thursday, and in today's video we are going to roll out with installment number 4 of our Partner Quick Take series. What's up, fans of MTG Burgeoning? What's up, fans of Legendary Partners? That's right, folks. It's the Partner Quick Take series installment number 4. What we are doing is we started off with all 56 of Magic the Gathering's legendary creatures with the partner mechanic. We shuffled them all up. We dealt 4 2-card piles. We revealed each pair. We talked about how we would build right there on the spot, initial takes on how to build, how I would build that commander deck with those 2 partners, those 2 colors, schemes, strategies, archetypes, without the use of any databases, without the use of EDHREC.com, 100% pure burgeoning. And in today's video, we are down to, what is this, 32? We've already done 3 episodes, so we are down to just 32 of these partner commanders. So they have been shuffled, they have been cut, and now it is time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Partner Quick Take series. Here we go. Pile number 1. If you missed any of the previous installments of this series, you can click on the link below and it'll bring you right up to speed. All right. Commander 1 of Pile 1 is Dargo the Shipwrecker. All right. So this guy's got a mountain of text here. 6 and a red. 7/5 with trample. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may sacrifice any number of artifacts and or creatures. This spell costs 2 colorless less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way, and 2 colorless less for each other artifact or creature you've sacrificed this turn. Whoa, okay, so we can get him out pretty quickly with the sacrificial artifacts and, boy oh boy, any number of artifacts and or creatures. Sacrifice any number. Wow, this seems like it has some... Dargo seems like it has some combo abilities, particularly because it says this spell costs 2 less for each permanent sacrifice this way, and 2 less to cast for each other artifact or creature you've sacrificed this turn. So this cumulative ability could allow us to cast Dargo multiple times in one turn. Already the gears are turning to some kind of sacrifice outlet, maybe like anything that we can sacrifice Dargo to have him die, to keep casting him by sacrificing other artifacts and creatures. Maybe have a Pandemonium in play. He comes into play, 7 points of damage. All right, let's see who his partner is. Oh, baby. A Chroma. Vision of Ixidor. 5 and 2 white. A 6/6 legendary angel with flying, first strike, vigilance, and trample at the beginning of each combat. Until end of turn, each other creature you control gets +1/+1 if it has flying, +1/+1 if it has first strike, and so on for double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, protection, reach, trample, vigilance, and partner. Okay, so just looking at our partners here, that turns Dargo into a 9/6 if we can get a Chroma and Dargo in play at the same time. Both commanders have CMCs of 7. That's going to make it a challenge. All right, so that's going to... Wow, they get some really different things here. Boy, oh boy. I am stumped. White with the angels, red with Dargo, combo with artifacts and sacrificing of creatures. Okay. Creature you control. All right, so I think what I would do here, in order to make in order to have a deck to be as synergized as possible between these two commanders, and not playing with a 30-card deck focusing on Akroma and a 30-card deck focusing on Dargo, I think what I would want to do is I would include a bunch of low-costed, economically costed creatures and equipment spells, and the equipment spells have to give the creature keywords that Akroma has in her text box. So as many equipment that are low cost as we possibly can, that can give creatures we control flying, first strike, double strike, death touch, haste, hexproof, indestructible, lifelink, menace, protection, reach, trample, and or vigilance. So what you would fill the deck with a bunch of those equipment, because if we have creatures in play like, small economically costed creatures, maybe some instant and sorcery spells that create creature tokens, and then we equip these creatures with the equipment that we include that help to give them some of the keywords that would make them bigger upon Akroma's eventual casting, then we can slowly accumulate a very, very big army, and once Akroma hits the battlefield, all of those creatures become a lot bigger. That could be then synced in with a casting of Dargo. We would bring Dargo into play, who would come into play as a 9/7 if Akroma is also in play. And actually, we would be able to cast him a lot cheaper by sacrificing some of those token creatures and some of those other economically cost creatures in order to get Dargo into play quicker. And if we needed to, we can sacrifice some of the artifacts as well. So that's how I would do it. We're playing Boros colors, so I hate this. I hate to sound like reinventing the wheel here, but I guess we're gonna win via combat, because we can't ignore the power of Akroma and the commanders in the command zone. So I think that's how I would do it. I would go about creating a bunch of equipped creatures that give them as many keyword abilities as possible, and then if Akroma can come down and she's unchecked, those creatures become so much more powerful with those equipment. And then if we needed to, we can get Dargo out into play and have him causing havoc by running around as a 7/5 trampler. We can do that earlier in the game too, because we can sacrifice creatures and we can sacrifice some of those other equipment if needed. And I guess we probably could install maybe a small... So we got to be careful with a card like Pandemonium, because that could come back to hurt us too. So I think maybe a Warstorm Surge, and then if we get enough equity built up with the creatures that we have in play in our equipment, it seems like it might be taking us too far off of our strategy. I think we stray away from the potential for combo and we just go straight Boros beat down. Equipment, low cost creatures. Yeah, I think that's what we do. Boy, that was a tough one. I'd like to hear what you think in the comment section below, how you would go about putting together Akroma, Vision of Ixidor, and Dargo, the Shipwrecker. Wow, that was a tough pair. Tough pairing. All right. Pair number 2, Commander 1. We have, back to Boros, Bruce Tarl, Boros Herder. 2 red and a white is a 3/3 legendary human ally. When Bruce enters the battlefield or attacks, target creature we control gains double strike and lifelink until end of turn. You would go in that deck. No question about it. And you're paired with Vile Smasher the Fierce. Oh man, we're going Mardu. Oh baby, Vile Smasher the Fierce is a 1 black and a red for a 2/3 legendary Goblin Berserker. And whenever we cast our first spell each turn, Vile Smasher the Fierce deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost to an opponent chosen at random. Okay. We got a CMC partner of 3 and of 4. And you know what? I think we're just going to go straight Mardu spells. We're going to take advantage of Bruce coming down and giving creatures double strike. It would just wonderfully, you cast Vile Smasher and then you curve into Bruce. Bruce comes in as 4, and then Vile Smasher is dealing 4 to something. Wow. Yeah, that's going to be good. And I think we just include a bunch of other spells that would help us to make Bruise even more threatening as a lethal commander damage deliverer. So maybe we include some instants that we can cast to boost his power and toughness, therefore also triggering Vile Smasher the Fierce, and maybe we make sure we keep doing that as a way in which to trigger him around the table. And a couple of support creatures that come into mind, I would want to include Feather in this deck, absolutely, because if we are able to cast those spells around the table and they get returned to our hand with Feather being in play, I think that goes to make the strategy a little stronger. We also want to make sure that we load up the spells in our deck with instants that we can make sure we cast during our opponent's turn so we can take advantage of Vile Smasher the Fierce. Any kind of X instant spells would be great. Black, white, any of those kinds. Just put them in there, load it up. Let's protect these guys. I really think we just want to kind of go Voltron here. Bruise is awesome by himself. He's going to attack with double strike, and if we're, casting instants that boost his power and toughness, or give him protection or additional evasion. Actually, I guess, can you consider double strike evasion? No, probably not. So, give him trample, give him some menace or something like that. I think we definitely include Iroas, God of Victory. That's a no-brainer here in this deck, particularly if we're going to take a Voltron route. Voltron being Bruise is going to be the attacker, while Vile Smasher is going to be on the back end, slinging around random slinging around random direct damage from the spells that we cast each turn. Yeah, that one seems pretty straightforward. Vile Smasher the Fierce on the back end, Bruise Tarl at the front end. All right, that one was a fair bit easier to put together. All right, pile number 3. Pile 3, Commander. You straighten up. There we go. Commander 1, we have Silas Wren, Seeker Adept. 1 blue and a black. It's a legendary human. 2/2 Death Touch. When Silas Wren, Seeker Adept, deals combat damage to a player, choose target artifact in our graveyard. We may cast that this turn. Okay. Paired with Tevesh Szat. All right, so we're going Dimir. 4 and a black planeswalker that comes into play. +2, we're creating 2/0/1 black thrall creature tokens. +1, we may sacrifice another creature or planeswalker. If we do, draw 2 cards, then draw another card if the sacrifice permanent was a commander. And then his Big Bang of -10, the famous Big Bang of Tevesh Szat. Gain control of all commanders. Put all commanders from the command zone onto the battlefield under your control. All right, so we're looking at Dimir. So we want to make sure that we can try to have the commanders represented equally here as best as possible. All right, so what are we going to do here? Silas Wren is focusing on artifacts. Tevesh Szat is going to create some thrall tokens. It's going to draw us some cards. Okay, so what I think we want to do is we probably want to make a Dimir lockdown shell as a way in which to protect Tevesh Szat as best we can, thereby being able to get to his Big Bang ability as quickly as possible, taking every single commander that's on the table. I think we're going to include a bunch of proliferate spells. I think we're going to include things like Contagion Engine, Contagion Clasp, all kinds of different proliferate spells. And I think we want to make sure that we include a bunch of artifact creatures, because we want to be able to make sure that if for some reason we have to attack with Silas Wren, which I don't see that being a big thing. He's only a 2/2 with Death Touch. I mean, most certainly our opponent would be trading down, but as a way in which to prevent us from getting an artifact from our graveyard, I think Silas is going to take a little bit more of a back seat here so that we can build around Tevesh Szat more. We just include everything that can lock down as much of our opponent's battlefields as possible so that we can build, protect, build up the loyalty of Szat, protect him, and then just get to the Big Bang. I think we include all kinds of, I don't want to say all kinds of counter spells, but we include some protection. maybe a Pact of Negation, maybe a Fierce Guardianship. And I just think we do that. We Dimir lock. Yeah, Dimir. I mean, Tevesh is so much better than Silas. Yeah. I think if we're going to do anything to try to incorporate the artifact archetype of Silas Ren, then we should include some equipment, maybe like a Whisper Silk Cloak that gives them, it makes them unblockable and gives them Shroud. Then that way, if Silas Ren is out there running around and doing combat damage, we can get some artifact cards from our graveyard, cast them when we need to, or cast them during that turn. And that wouldn't be too hard because blue-black, we're in the color of tutoring for black, and we're in the color of searching for artifacts with blue. So that wouldn't be a bad thing. Build in a small little package to protect Silas Ren, allowing us to get to some of those artifacts. Okay, I think that's what we do. All right, Silas Ren and Tevesh Szat, Doom of Fools. Dimir lock. All right, we're down to our last pairing. Commander 1 of pair number 4 is Arden, the Intrepid Archaeologist. 2 and a white. At the beginning of combat on our turn, we may attach any number of auras and equipment we control to target permanent or player. All right. Let's see. We are pairing this up with Elegeth, Crossroads Augur. It's a 5/6 flyer. If we would scry a number of cards, draw that many number of cards instead. Okay, it's a 5/6 flyer. Okay, so we're looking at Azorius. Oh, jeez. This is like the first deck with the Chroma and Dargo, right? Well, I think what we absolutely have to do is include a package of spells that are going to allow us to scry, because if we can get Elegeth in play, scrying is drawing. So we're going to putting in stuff like Ponder. Anything that says scry, we're going to include it as a spell. Tons of blue spells, maybe some artifacts that can do that as well. Get Elegeth in play, protect Elegeth, and then Arden 2/2, beginning of combat, attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. Well, I think we could maybe use that ability as a way in which to Voltron up our Sphinx here on the left to protect it, to make sure that we can utilize all of our spells to draw our cards. We still need an endgame, though, because even though we can scry and draw cards as opposed to just scrying to scry, we got to have some kind of an endgame. The Sphinx is a 5/6 flyer, so making this a Voltron strategy may not be terrible if we include a ton of different auras and equipment. And at the beginning of our upkeep, if we spread them around, we can, bring them back from the battle. We can bring them back from the graveyard, of course, if we play cards like Bruna, Light of Alabaster from Shadows over Innistrad, from Avacyn Restored. Yeah, I think that's the goal I would take. I would make the focus of the deck Elegeth as a commander, as a Voltron strategy beatdown, include equipment to protect it, include some auras to help get Elegeth through for lethal combat damage, and then as a way in which to keep the cards flowing in the hand, all kinds of spells, instants, sorceries, artifacts that scry, maybe even creatures that come into play and let us scry, as a way in which to fill our hand with cards, with Elegeth being on the battlefield, because if we're scrying, we're drawing those cards instead. All right. Azorius Voltron with Elegeth. Azorius Voltron. Boy, does that sound outside the box? It sure does to me. I mean, it does remind me of a Bruna Light of Alabaster Azorius commander deck I had way back in the day that did the very thing I'm talking about now, focused on auras, particularly because of Bruna's abilities. It's just so strong. All right, folks, so this was Partner Quick Takes installment number 4, EDH Commander Thursday. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.